Hi, I'm Suzanne. I am a videographer and photographer, and I am here because this month is International Women's Day on the 8th of March. In keeping with this year's theme of #ChooseToChallenge, I've been working with 9 brilliant women creating a photo series to represent different stereotypes that modern Australian women face. Alongside this photo series, we've recorded a conversation on each of these topics to help create a dialogue around them for International Women's Day. You're going to get one a day until the 9th of March, so stay tuned. Today's topic is #ChooseToChallenge being child-free. It's with Jodie, and you can head over to my Instagram to see her photos at suzanne.was.here and get involved in the conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hi, so today we are talking about child-free, and I have with me the wonderful
Jodie Hitchcock.
Yes, and I love Jodie. And tell us a bit about you.
I'm an event producer. I've worked in arts and entertainment, theatre, toured for many years as a stage manager initially, and then went into event production when Australia became more of an event production country.
Yeah. And as someone who has known you for a while now, you are one of the most organised and impressive people in the world. But obviously I've asked you to be here today because we are going to talk about the fact that you aren't a mother, and that this is a choice for you. So yes. I'd love if you could tell a bit of your story about that.
Yeah, I don't know that I consciously decided I wasn't going to have children. When I think about it, I actually never really have a big desire to have children.
Yeah.
In fact, there's nothing going on in the ovaries saying children. And I didn't have a partner for a long time. I had a few dalliances. And I would travel a lot for work, and I was quite independent, and I was quite happy just in my little circle of girlfriends, hanging out, going out, went on tour, and and then I didn't actually meet anybody, and I got married in my 40s. So, and by that stage, my body was definitely not going to have children. There was different medical issues going on that sort of said there's not a chance now. And I said to my now husband that if you just be aware that if you want to continue down this track with me, there will be no children involved in it coming out of me. Yeah. And I didn't. When I got married, it does change your sort of focus on children a little bit. I knew that I probably wouldn't ever have children then, but we didn't actually try not to have children, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so if it had happened by some miracle, then I probably would have had a child. But I don't know that. I was sort of probably glad that it didn't happen.
Yeah, it wasn't something that felt like you needed it.
No, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
But then you think, it would be, we'd make really pretty children.
You would do, you too.
Yeah, I had this whole Studio Bambini cover look going on of our children. But yeah, no, and it's definitely nothing I miss. I'm a fabulous auntie.
Yes.
I'm godmother to a million children, not so successfully as others, but I think I've had a Catholic, a Buddhist, and 2 Catholics actually, and they call me a Buddhist at one.
There you go.
Yeah. I know.
A diverse godmother.
A very diverse godmother, yes.
Yeah. I mean, similarly, what you've described is, I guess, kind of how I feel, except I've probably made a little bit more of a conscious decision in that I don't want to, I don't think, grow my own humans anyway. If it happened, then I'm sure I would love that, and I wouldn't want to change that.
I mean, if I think about it, as I thought about it later in life, I did actually not want to go through having a human come out of me. That whole birthing thing was, I know some women are just so passionate about wanting to have that birthing experience, and I know some of my best girlfriends who didn't have the natural birth, like not by choice, by as it happened during the whole labour period, and then they carry grief over that.
And they feel less womanly.
Absolutely. And I can't prove I can't, say I understand it, but I get it and I sympathise with them that they have that.
Yeah.
And I don't deny that is not a thing at all.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want it coming out of me.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and look, I've just thought about it. It's funny because we've been talking about it, because I don't really focus on it. I've wanted to be child free. I'm happy I am. And
I guess as well, for women in particular, we kind of are raised on this story of you grow up and you meet a boy.
Yeah.
No consideration for sexuality in this story, by the way. Ever.
No,
you're gonna, regardless of your sexuality, you're going to grow up and meet a boy.
That's right.
And you're going to marry them, and then you're going to have kids.
Yeah.
And it was only in my early 20s that I was like, wait, do I actually want that, or is that am I just following along the storyline?
Yeah.
And I think I really admire the way that it's not necessarily been a decision, but you've just gone, these are the things that I want in my life, and it was just that at no point was a child a prevalent one of those.
Yeah, no, I didn't, even in any of the dalliances that I did have, I never considered that a child might have actually been part of any of those.
Yeah.
I mean, culturally, I'm mixed race marriage, and my in-laws were curious of why we weren't going to have children.
Yeah. How was that conversation?
Well, I think we sort of went down the medical line for that one. And not the fact that I was like probably almost past childbirthing age, or difficulty at birthing children in the later 40s.
Yeah.
But I think we threw the medical side back at them just to
simplify the conversation.
Yeah. And it sort of helped because I believe, I think, other members of the family have sort of, don't know if we want to have children either. And so it simplified it for them because, Jodie's not having them.
It opens that conversation.
It does, yeah.
Did you find, even before you were married, that you had pressure from other people about having kids? I guess probably not in your industry that you were completely surrounded by.
No. It was the industry it was all consuming, and the industry didn't need you to have children.
Yeah, that was probably bad.
A lot of my friends toured with their children.
Yeah.
We'd often have a child on tour. In fact, the first tour I went on, baby Jack, and I shared an apartment with the parents, and we all looked after baby Jack.
The term child-free, it's you don't have your own children.
No.
Children are very present in your life.
Absolutely.
The amount of stories over the years I've known you've told me about children that are important to you. There's so many.
Definitely.
It's an odd term. Now that just as you were talking, I've realised how odd that term is. It suggests that you completely avoid children.
That's right. And you don't at all. I love them.
Yeah.
And I love being, favourite Aunt Jodie in Sydney.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's not many other aunts necessarily in our family, but, or in Sydney, so it's easy to be that one.
Yeah. Oh, good. And then, so what do you feel like are kind of the stereotypes and the assumptions that people make about women who don't have children?
Well, I think they're often spinsters, and spinster is such a horrible word for a woman that just chooses not to have a partner in her life. And, there might be sexuality connotations as well, which is another stupid stereotype.
Yeah.
There's a lot of my female friends who are in same-sex relationships want to have children. And do have children and have been having children.
Yeah.
and I think that's fabulous. And I sometimes think they make a better family unit. But, I've got a couple of friends who have, straight female who wanted to have a child and have had, I don't even know how because I've never asked them how they've gone about producing the child, but they've been inseminated with probably their own eggs and however they've been fertilised. So I've never asked.
Yes,
but, and they're fine on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine on their own.
100%.
Yeah.
And then also, there's this sort of idea that women can't be full humans or fully fulfilled in life if they don't have a partner and if they don't have children, which is, I feel like, such an odd, I think less now, like people who live in the real world understand that, but just as a social narrative, there is that sort of, just even with celebrities, like how long have people been right up Jennifer Aniston about not having kids?
Yeah, exactly. Poor girl. Really, she doesn't want any.
Yeah.
Because she could have organised it.
Oh, definitely. There's
no way that you can't sort that out these days.
Yes, if she wanted a kid, she would have had one by now. Yeah.
Now, she's probably a brilliant aunt as well.
Yes, exactly. That's again, I don't intend on growing my own humans, but I cannot express how much I love my nieces and nephews.
Yeah, exactly.
They are just the world, and my goddaughter, and I want to cry just talking about how much I love them.
I saw mine on the weekend,
much.
And she's come straight up, and she's about knee high, and wraps around your leg.
Yes. actually, do you know what? When I was trying to confirm what word I wanted to use for this episode, and because originally I was more sitting in the non-motherhood versus child-free and stuff space, and we've discussed it and thought child-free would be the best. But when you look up synonyms of non-motherhood, all the words that come up are like dry, barren, hollow, like these really empty, all these awful words that I'm like, it's just this idea that by not being a mother, you're just, you failed, or
you're not going to be fulfilled as a woman if you don't use what your body's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because who said your body was supposed to do that just because it can?
Yeah, well, and I mean, with me, I don't even know if mine can.
No, I don't know if mine can either.
Like, and I think, but it's
could do a whole lot of other stuff they didn't need it to do, but and it doesn't do any of that now.
And then I also think, you know, there's a lot of women who struggle a lot to get pregnant, and I think what I've taken from how I feel about this is an opportunity to try to raise awareness of the situations that people put in place for those kinds of women with their assumptions. So like when I first got married, I went and got a haircut a little bit after at a hairdresser I hadn't been to before. And I said, oh, you know, it's a month ago today we got married. And she was like, oh, when are you having kids? Like that was like her first. And I was like, what? And I remember just my mind being like, what? And then I ended up saying to her, I was like, oh, I can't.
Yeah.
Because I have PCOS and the horror on her face because she's uncomfortable because she's now put me in an uncomfortable situation, which for me, I'm fine with that. But if she'd asked somebody that who couldn't have kids and wasn't okay with that, that then becomes a really traumatizing moment for them. Or if someone had just had a miscarriage and you ask them that, it's just, I think we need to change the way that we talk around the expectation of women having children.
Yeah, definitely. I don't raise it at all. Ever since I said to the bank teller that I had seen a few weeks earlier, oh, congratulations, and she actually wasn't pregnant, I don't even raise the subject. Their family didn't give me any pressure over it.
That's great.
That's
got to be unusual for...
Yeah, but I'm very aware that I didn't get any pressure, and I do know that it's out there.
From your generation, it's becoming more common to see women without kids, and I think your generation has had to fight that fight to make that
we
more
did,
normalised.
I guess. I look, as say, whilst I wasn't pining for a child, some people were pining for a child, but our jobs didn't really... We chose to have jobs that didn't really allow for a relationship because you weren't in town for long enough. And if it wasn't with somebody that you were working with... It was
touring with,
it wasn't going to really sustain because you weren't around long enough. You had to make a different choice in life and have different living arrangement. And like my career changed. I went from stage management into event management, and I could do it from home. I could stay in the same city for a longer period of time. But you
still didn't want kids?
No, I still didn't want kids. No. Not really, no. It was really only after I got married, and I thought, well, that'd be nice, but it's not going to make the marriage any better. It's just, it would be all right. And if it happened, I'd probably have the baby over aborting a child, but not for any other reason, but just, we were in a marriage and we'd both have a child.
And then the next generation that's coming through now are making their choices around parenthood based on the environment largely. Yes. Which, I mean, to be honest, is an impact for me. But I think, it's really interesting that there's all these assumptions about selfishness when there are women now not considering children for selfless reasons because it's more about a fear for the planet and a fear for what those children would have to live through.
I have been known to say that I'm far more sustainable because I don't have children.
Yes.
There's a lot less waste going out my house because there's not as many children in there. None.
So then, as far as, I guess, in this conversation, it's been very clear that just by living in the way that you do, you challenge these stereotypes around what a woman who doesn't have a child look like. You're not a spinster. You're not a sad, empty woman.
I know. I don't know if I was barren, never found out.
Yes, that's true.
And those words are so heavy.
Harsh,
It's like barren and spinster. They need to go away. They're just horrible words.
Yeah. I think if there's some words that I feel like we've
grown
coined
out of
into a
those.
negative thing that's
Yeah.
a medical word and fine.
Yeah.
But these words that are used as weapons
They
against
are,
women, there's
yeah.
no equivalent for a
No.
man.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and a man who doesn't have, you know, going back to Jennifer Aniston, nobody was chasing up George Clooney for years saying,
I know.
where are your kids?
Yeah, exactly.
And
No, that's true. Nobody chases a man doing, when are you going to have children?
yeah,
Mm.
because it's, and I know this is coming from the historical responsibility of women to have children, but it's like, we don't do it by ourselves.
No.
Believe it or not, there's a male involved at some point.
However, a couple of generations before, whilst it does take two, there was often only one, the woman, in the home looking after the children.
But I mean, as far as how it actually,
the conception.
yes,
no, the conception does.
Yes, yeah.
Well, most of the time it needs two in some part.
Yes, definitely not.
One doesn't need to be fully committed.
No, 100%. I mean, at the point, it takes. At the conception, it takes two, and after that, definitely not. Yes, but I think it's the double standard is, and I mean, it's definitely not about attacking men and saying, oh, well, you should have this and that, but it's such a clear and immediate contrast in the way that women without children are spoken about versus the way men without children are spoken about.
No, it's totally accepted if a man is top of his game, multiple partners, and or even known and doesn't have children. It's not even questioned. Maybe their grandmother questions it.
Yeah.
But that's another generation. But in that generation though, it's just fine.
Yeah.
It's one of the boys.
Well, and in politics, it's female leaders, if they aren't mothers, it's like,
oh, I know.
Well, do you even understand the world?
Absolutely.
But then if they are mothers, well, but shouldn't you be at home with your children?
Jacinda Ardern doing conferences during COVID after she just bathed the child. That was brilliant. Or cleaning up toys and doing press conferences and things. She was brilliant.
But also she was elected before she was a mother.
I know.
How wonderful. I actually, I'm so glad for her having a child, and the way that her and her husband have been doing that is brilliant. But the fact that she was elected as the Prime Minister of New Zealand without a child... And you think how much respect there was for her versus when Julia Gillard was elected here, and how she was attacked. She was attacked for not having children.
Exactly.
It's disgusting.
No, it was disgusting. But a lot of that,
We're getting better.
We are. Well, we will. Every generation there's changes, and as you get older, you'll watch. I think things just change, and you can't imagine when you're younger what's going to change.
Yeah.
I've got to say it's changed really fast in the last 20 years than it did the previous 30 for me.
But even just the fact that it's not so unusual now. It still gives people pause and surprise to meet a woman who doesn't have an intention of being a mother. But that there are women like you for the younger generations to look up to and be like, oh, that's what my life can look like. If I don't have a child. And, we're starting to see this in media representation. There are characters in TV shows and movies that are child-free, that aren't just the spinster and aren't just the cat lady or the crazy auntie who she ran away with the circus, so that's the only reason that she doesn't have a child. You can live a life just like everybody else and be completely content without children.
Absolutely. And at peace with yourself.
Yeah.
Or not even. Just in your own little spiralling world if you're having to be that person.
If you're having a bit of a hard time.
If you're having a hard time, there's nobody to tell off. I do see, from the outside, I see a lot of stress within families with the children as well that we don't have at our house.
Yeah.
The dog doesn't give us that much grief.
She's pretty chill.
She's a bit chill,
Yeah. And of course, this is specifically, we're talking about the choice to not have children, and recognizing that there are so many women who want that and don't, or who have had children and lost them. And that is an awful...
and I can't even imagine, I can't begin to imagine how they feel.
No. I think... And even this...
And the grief around miscarriage, which I haven't experienced, so I don't know. But just I know a lot of people honour the birth or what would have been the loss of that child that they were growing. Devastating.
Yes.
All of that.
Well, or even that, women who have had a miscarriage,
Mm-hmm.
who would likely consider themselves mothers,
Mm-hmm.
society doesn't consider mothers because they didn't go through
but they, because they,
the full,
That's right.
And I think that's really, really awful.
Yeah.
I know a few women who have had miscarriages and they still want children, but they've not been able to go full term with anyone. And for that categorization of mother or not mother being so black and white is really, really excludes those women.
Yeah. No, there's a few gaps in that sort of identity.
What would you like to see? You said there's been so much change, but what would you like to see continue to change as far as, the recognition of women who choose not to be mothers or aren't able to be mothers? What would you like to see?
I'd just like to, I'd like to see, it's the pigeonholing. Just in life as a woman, moving up in her career, you were challenged all the time. I'd like the challenge of anything that you want to be to stop.
Yes, yeah.
Some women don't want to be women anymore.
Yeah.
Some men don't want to be men anymore or never did.
Yeah.
And are being able to now choose to be themselves.
Yeah.
I'd like people to have their choices honoured.
Yeah.
And not challenged.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I like to just be able to be who you are.
Yeah. Why does everybody have to fit so neatly
and why
into a
does
filing
everyone
cabinet?
have to understand that as well?
Yeah.
Why do people have to understand why I want to be child free or somebody wants to be child free? You don't have to understand it.
Yeah. It doesn't actually impact anybody else's life.
It doesn't affect anybody else's life. There's a lot of that in life that people want to understand. I don't understand why you don't want to have a child. It doesn't impact anybody else.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect you at all.
Yeah.
And you don't have to understand it. But
it's really not even worth your energy to work it out if it stresses you out that much.
That's right. You don't have to work it out.
You don't need to know.
You just have to continue down the track of being their friend because it's just the same it's them being them.
Yeah.
Just people being allowed to be themselves and make their own choices without society putting any emphasis on what they should have been or shouldn't have been, because they should be who they are.
Well, and that's where we get caught in this, you're not a mother, therefore you're a spinster.
Yeah.
You're not, you are a mother, therefore you're a child obsessed. It's we need to stop deciding because one attribute of ourselves is something that therefore our whole personality must be the one thing that is associated with that.
Yes. Yeah. Life is hugely colourful.
Yes, yeah.
And everyone should be allowed to be their own colour.
I agree.
Without, nobody tells a rainbow you shouldn't be those colours.
Orange, how dare you?
How dare you be orange? Wouldn't you rather be green? No.
Really, green is superior.
But you don't have a child, but wouldn't you want one? No.
Yeah.
I don't understand. No, you don't have to understand.
How about, have you had people say to you ever, I mean, probably not people who would be close to you because you probably would have just not been friends with people. It's awful.
I think there's that.
But people who say things like, you won't know real love until you've had your own children, or things like, once you have children, you'll be glad that you did. Things like that it's like, it's these conditional things. It's like, I know this thing that you'll never know.
No, and I do, it's not been said to me, but I do know friends of mine who have had that said to them. I love my husband, or I love my partner, and I love my dog pretty unconditionally, so I think I do know it.
Yeah, I feel like it's when people say things like that, it's very condescending. Yeah. It's like, because I haven't made the same life choices as you, I couldn't possibly understand the depths of life. And
and I don't know if that's just a love thing or it's an attachment thing, because it didn't occur to me until I did get married in my early 40s that my mother was still worrying about me. Now, I'd lived out of home for 25 years. And it was when I was getting married, and I got married, and she said, now I don't have to worry about you. And I said to her, what do you mean? And she said, I said, do you worry about me? And she said, yes. And then when you lose your parents, there's this sort of, I called it this little, this attachment that you have to them. So
Yeah.
I don't have that to anything, this
Yeah.
attachment other than to a parent, and I've lost them. So then I
Yeah.
don't, and so I did feel the attachment point that's invisible
Yeah.
then, and that's something as a mother you have. I don't call that love though, it's just an invisible attachment.
Yeah.
And it was pretty full on when I lost my parents. But as not having a child to feel that attachment,
Yeah.
I don't know how, unless you're a mother, you'd know that was different love
Yeah.
to different love to a partner that you unconditionally, or different love to your dog that was unconditional.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do say that I can feel that there was an attachment to my mother
Mm.
when she passed away.
Yeah.
That I have heard that women have said that, oh, you don't know what you're missing, because I don't want to know what
I
I'm
also
missing.
don't know what I'm
need-
missing from not riding a zebra, but
That's
I'm
right.
okay with
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I know what I'm missing from not finding that pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, though.
Yeah.
Very aware of that. But yeah, that it's a choice. I don't want to know what I'm missing.
Yeah. And you're completely content.
I'm absolutely fine with it.
What an incredible life you've had. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
a lot of living left to do.
I know.
But like, look at the life that you've led without kids. And I think I can't imagine that anybody would look at your life and not think that it sounded amazing and all the things that you've achieved and you've been able to do. And it's ridiculous to suggest that just because you've decided to not have children, that is of any less value or any less fulfilling. And that's what we need to stop. It's a stick we need to stop beating women with.
Yes, no more sticks.
Yeah, no more sticks. I have been using the analogy of sticks a bit in this series. But I honestly thank you so much for coming and talking to me. I mean,
Absolute pleasure.
we've been able to keep a fairly good structure on this because you and I talk so often.
Yes.
But I'm so excited to see what you do next in your wild child-free life.
Yes, well, watch this space.
Thank you, Jodie.